And welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and P. Bush. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man. 2-0 in fantasy this week in my leagues. Finally,
Mm.
man, Kamara with the virtuoso performance, as Zoo likes to call them, man. Hadn't found the end zone all year and puts up three-piece for me, three tutties, and brought me home in my dynasty league. So I was happy entering the week, and the Bears took a couple positive steps again. So I know we'll be getting into that in a little bit.
Yeah, I know all about Kamara, man, but I was on the other side of Alvin Kamara, dropping a nuke on me, man. Oh man, it's one of the worst weeks of fantasy footballs in my career, man. Every team I played against dropped 130, 140, 150,
It was a high-scoring week.
Dude, and I lost all of them, man. I lost all of them. So pretty much, my teams did all pretty solid. But then I played people who just dropped 130 virtuoso performances, man. So I couldn't get it done. I couldn't get it done. I could only get it done in 2 leagues, man. But all my teams showed up this week. All my boys showed up. You got Dalvin showing up. You got King Quan showing up, man.
King Quan.
But King man, Quan. Oh man, I played against these. Oh, I had AJ Brown. How could I not mention? I lost with AJ Brown dropping 3 tutties.
And I can tell you exactly why.
Mr. Alvin. Yeah, Mr. Alvin Kamara and Mr. Jalen Waddle, man. I had to take it out because of that.
You decided to keep playing Courtland Sutton, man.
Oh!
We don't even need to get into that.
I'm putting that boy in timeout, man. 1.9?
Gotta go to the bench.
To the bench.
Legitimately, everybody on my bench outscored Courtland Sutton. From backup running backs of Alexander Madison to no-name wide receivers like Romeo Doubs. Everybody on my bench outscored Courtland Sutton. If I started one of those guys over Courtland Sutton, I would have won this week. But I made a new move of starting Courtland Sutton. I have a new rule. No more Broncos, man. I can't trust Russ Wilson, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know how that tight end became tight end 1. I don't know who that tight end is.
That tight end's good. He's good, dude.
He kept giving it to him. He's good. It to him. I'm like, oh, Sutton.
Yeah. Tough week.
It was funny. The reason why I lost my matchup this week is because I didn't start Dobbs. So go figure. I lost by literally 7 points. I was competing. It was Hayden Hurst and Cade York versus Amari Cooper, and I lost that matchup because we were both tied going into Monday. And I thought, and listen, you want to talk about feeling real good when Amari threw that pick? I was like, oh yeah, I'm winning this. As soon as he threw that pick, I was like,
so random.
If they got Amari throwing passes, I was like, I'm going to win this matchup. And he continued to have 130 yards, I think, 120 yards. So, yeah, ended up losing that. But I was on a 3-game winning streak, so still fighting, tied for first. But we'll see how it goes with fantasy. But we won't be starting there. We'll be starting with the NFL trade deadline. A lot of rash of trades just came through, like Zoo was saying before the pod, man. It felt like the NBA trying to get all these trades off Field Yates, getting tweets out before other reporters and things like that. So, I wanted to ask the guys who was their, I guess, most impactful trade, their favorite trade from the day. And P. Bush, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I got to take both sides of my Chicago Bears here. I do think that it was a hell of a trade by the Ravens to get Roquan Smith. I think a team that has kind of struggled to find their way, whether it be injuries or, maybe a little inconsistent play, haven't really taken it to the teams that they probably should have taken it to. The Giants game was, one that comes to mind for the Ravens. So you had a guy who's young. I think he's a top 3 middle linebacker in the league. Quietly underrated. I don't think he's actually gotten an all-pro nod, even though he's been up there in tackles for a couple seasons now. And you're getting a defensive leader who flies around the field. So, I think that the Bears, they got a second rounder back and then flipped their own second rounder for my second favorite trade of the day, Chase Claypool, finally giving Justin Fields a little help there, man. So I thought there was a lot of moves, but I do think that the Ravens probably made one of the better ones, especially for his age more than anything. I think, that it's hard to find a stud middle linebacker, and they've been missing one since Ray Lewis, man. And now they got a legit guy who can hopefully help against, the Hayden Hursts, the Bengals, or Njoku when he comes back when they got to play the Browns, especially in those divisional matchups. So that's definitely one of the trades I was looking at, man.
Interesting, man. For me, man, this trade will have no impact this year. No impact at all, but I found it really interesting,
where you're going.
Calvin Ridley,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
People forget how big of a stud this guy is, Calvin Ridley. But he
Real.
got did a little gambling, man. Get banned from the NFL, man. It happens, man. I get it, man. Putting money on NFL games, it's a beautiful thing to do, man. But that got him out of the league. But they're trying to see Trevor Lawrence if he's legit or not right now. We're gonna get paid Christian Kirk. We're gonna get you Calvin Ridley. We got you ETN, your college teammate, who's looking like an RB1 right now, who's taking over as a workhorse, dual threat back.
Absolutely.
We got all these weapons for you, all this opportunity. We got a new coach, Mr. Peterson, who's won a Super Bowl. So no excuses right now. Because right now, maybe Christian Kirk, not a true number one. You got to get your young receiver a true number one. That's what the Bears are trying to do with Justin Fields. And this is what the Jags are doing with Mr. Trevor Lawrence. Because I think Christian Kirk is still more of like a number two type of guy, even though they paid him number one money. Calvin Ridley is more the stereotypical prototype, the bigger dude that could do it all. So Calvin Ridley for Trevor Lawrence, I'm looking at, okay, their offense needs a little work. Trevor Lawrence made some bad decisions this year. Maybe give him a security blanket and Calvin Ridley as a guy you could just go to when you get a little nervous, man. Man, you'll get some late picks. Come on. Some late picks.
Third and fourth?
Yeah, whatever. Not a first rounder, not a second rounder, man. Come on. This is a great deal for them, man, for the future. They're trying to build around Trevor Lawrence, your franchise quarterback. I love the move, giving your young QB things to work with, man. Because right now, no excuses, man. No excuses next year. You got all this talent around you. The skills position for him, man, beautiful, man. They're beautiful.
Absolutely. Right now. And they have that division kind of wide open in the next couple of years, I think. The Colts seem to be a little lost. Titans are getting a little older, losing Tannehill. I wasn't that impressed with Malik.
Yeah, all those teams are going to their young quarterbacks to see what they got right now.
Exactly. And the Jags are kind of trying to take a little early jump on that. So, yeah, I mean, this year, this division's probably kind of written off. I think it actually is the lowest scoring division across the entire league. Pretty brutal games to watch coming out of there. But the Jags are setting themselves up, man. And they found a gem in ATN. They waited out that injury, man. And he's, paying dividends. It's just beautiful to watch, man. That team could be good, but it's all on Trevor Lawrence. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, Tennessee, too, is going to be interesting with, depending on, I don't know, the severity of Ryan Tannehill's injury, but if Malik Willis can just maybe show he could be a competent quarterback this year, I think they're going to have to eventually replace Derrick Henry in the next few years, even though he's been tearing it up the last couple of weeks. But I think if they can get a decent replacement from him next year, and then I really like their first round, I think it was a first round receiver, Treylon Burks. He's been injured, but I like him a lot. So I think if him and Malik is really good, I think that'd be a nice number one option. I think they were trying to basically replace him with AJ Brown, which is kind of crazy now because AJ Brown went from 3 touchdowns. There's no replacing AJ Brown. It looks like
Eagles are just too good right now.
I think that was just kind of they just had to move on. They didn't want to pay him. But I'll just go with, because those are the two moves too. Like the Calvin Ridley one, I think is a huge one. That's going to be further down the road. But two that I'm looking at, one that's head scratching, and then one for me that I think is a sneaky good move. The Bradley Chubb to Miami is nice. Just off the simple fact of Miami is trying to capitalize on, we want to be good now. Like I think they did that with Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek's doing what he does. Like you say, I don't think you're ever going to see the apex of Tyreek like how he was with Patrick Mahomes. But I do think with Tua, he's been good enough, and I think I saw a stat where he's leading the league in yardage still, which is pretty interesting considering like people were kind of saying, well, Tua doesn't have the arm strength to give him the ball. Well, it doesn't really matter with Tyreek. If you can just somehow get him the ball 10, 30, 40 yards down the field, it doesn't matter. He's gonna make plays. They got Jalen Waddle. I think they got Jeff Wilson Jr. also, another guy from the 49ers tree that Mike McDaniel's bringing over. I just think I like their mindset of, okay, I know the Bills is in our division, but we're just not going to be like, okay, we settle for second place. No, we want to go get guys on our team that can contribute right now, and they can, make an impact in the next 2 to 3 years down the road. So I like that Miami's staying aggressive. They're not just resting on their laurels.
And they don't really get much QB pressure. That's one of their issues. Is they're in like the bottom half, if not maybe the bottom third on sacks this year. So then they just need a playmaker on defense. Their secondary is pretty good, but man, that pass rush, man, that was a big move, and I think a lot of people expected it, especially just with how dismal the Broncos have been.
Yeah, they sure have the defense, man, because that offense, man. Tua, man, people forgot. Tua has the number 1 QBR in the NFL this season, man.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 over Josh Allen, over Patrick Mahomes. Like, he is actually balling this. If you look at his resume only for this year, he's probably a top 10 quarterback this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing like a top 10 quarterback based on one season. And Tyreek Hill, that offense right now. Tyreek Hill is on pace for 2,000 yards. That is insane. And you got Jalen Waddle. So right now, Tua, obviously, this guy's having a career year. And see what we got to do. You got to give your young quarterback a number 1 receiver, man. And you just let them blossom. You let them blossom, man. Right now, Tua's blossoming. They paid the big money. You got to get that wide receiver 1 stud. And now the Dolphins going all in, which is quite beautiful. Like, no more Patriots now. We got the Dolphins and Buffalo Bills trying to win the division. So
Patriots
seeing these teams go for it, man. Like McDaniels, man, that's a great head coach, man. They're going all in right now. I love the move on the defensive end because the offense, they ain't the issue right now. Their offense is loaded.
And the Dolphins beat the Bills earlier this year. So division could get real interesting if they somehow, like you said, there's probably a less than 5% chance that they go up to Buffalo and beat them. But like you said, they already got one in their back pocket, so they're definitely going to be playing looser. So that will be very interesting to see if they actually pulled that one off. And speaking of the Buffalo Bills, I think I was saying it. I don't understand the Nyheim Hines move. I think he, like James Cook, the last game, like I said, he's been a non-factor the entire year. But last game, just watching him against the Packers, like he had that, I think, pass for like 41 yards, had a couple of decent runs. I feel like he could maybe trend towards the back end of the season being a back that could be a really solid backup to Singletary, or maybe split carries with Singletary, because he just seems way more explosive than Singletary. So I don't know if they think Nyheim Hines is just like instant, whereas we don't have to like bring James Cook along, like, because to me, this screams that they're just going to think James Cook is going to be the third guy, because I'm pretty sure they didn't trade for Nyheim Hines to just be a like just third back on that roster. I think they traded for him to be like the pass catching guy and guy that's going to be explosive out the backfield. So I guess that's just a ready-made pick, but I don't know. I feel like they could have maybe did something else or did nothing at all. I'm not sure what they gave up for it. Probably wasn't a lot.
To be honest, I thought they should have traded for David Montgomery, man. If anything, because I think the Bears were willing to move him. And I think that I don't think they would have just set Devin Singletary aside or maybe even sent him in the package, but he's kind of a better version of Devin Singletary. And if you're really trying to make a splash that's what I was just going to say, Sean, is like you either don't do anything or kind of make a big move, because that was a last-second trade too. That was really late.
Maybe the asking price for David Montgomery was too high.
Probably, if I were that. Yeah, because he is young
for a
and he's proven 1,000-yard rusher.
But yeah, that's just one. The 2 moves that I saw. Like I didn't get the Nyheim, and I do like what the Dolphins are doing. So, transitioning to our next topic, Zoo kind of alluded to it earlier about young quarterbacks and them needing weapons. I almost feel like it's malpractice when it comes to young quarterbacks and them not having good receivers. Because if you just think about the draft every year, there's a dearth of receivers, not even just in the first round, throughout the entire draft, that if you can scout and the perfect example of that is the Steelers. Like, they always seem to just figure out guys who fit their system and can flourish. And that means you have a great scouting department. So to me, one thing that could help these quarterbacks are great receivers. So, I was thinking about it today, like the second-year quarterbacks is kind of a bit of a mixed bag with how they performed. So I wanted to ask the guys and it could be any other second-year quarterback, but I'm just talking about the big names, out of Fields, Lawrence, and Zach Wilson, which one are you confident in going forward will be, I guess you could say, in that tier to get a nice second contract? We'll just put it that way.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
All right. So, Zoo, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, I know what the answer is not. It is not Zach Wilson, man.
There you go.
Oh, I am out on this dude, man. Like I was telling you guys, man, this guy's getting all the opportunity. He is Elijah Moore, who wants out because he just doesn't get the ball. Like, you ask him about chemistry, he's like, I got like 9 targets in like 5 games, man. There's no chemistry at all. The chemistry is not getting him the ball right there. You got a stud Garrett Wilson, who's been up and down. This guy's a true number 1 receiver. And you got Corey Davis as a third receiver. And I feel like he's like a second type receiver. He's pretty good. He got a couple 1,000-yard season. Titans, like, this guy is a really solid player. So I'm telling you, Zach Wilson getting all the opportunity right now. He's not the guy. I feel like Jets fans, man, they probably like, damn, we got like Justin Fields or something, man. I'm telling you, man, I feel like these Jets fans, they see Zach Wilson play. Like Zach Wilson play this year versus Joe Flacco play this year with the exact same team. You saw better QB play from the old dude that's about to retire in 2 years compared to the young pup who might be a dog off the floor, but on the field right now, man, you're looking real sad this year. I'm telling you, Zach Wilson
lost his confidence.
His decision making.
Yeah,
his decision making is atrocious. It's really bad. He tried to be all creative stuff. Like he sometimes chucks the ball like I don't even know who he's throwing it to. Like I'm telling this QB play for Zach Wilson, man. Like they definitely got a dud for a number 2 overall pick, man.
Yeah,
Zach Wilson's a dud, dude.
That might be a good comparison, actually.
Exactly.
I hate to say it, but I moved on to
that might be a good comparison.
Coming out like some random school that's not known for football, man, and then comes leaking out they want this dude. They take their guy and they missed on him. So definitely not Zach Wilson, man. So I'm down to Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, man. They're both in interesting situations. Both these guys getting obviously weapons based on this trade off season, man. But I'm so gonna ride with Trevor Lawrence, man. Even though I watch a lot of Jazz, I'll tell you, I watch a lot of Jazz games this year, man. A lot of Jags games. I've not been impressed.
No,
like watching Trevor Lawrence in the red zone. Sometimes I'm like, bro, how do you miss that throw? Like, how do you miss them? I'm missing a couple overthrows to ETN, missing Christian Kirk, missing these dudes. Like Trevor Lawrence. Sometimes I'm like. His accuracy sometimes. I thought he was supposed to be known for accuracy. So his accuracy is a little doo-doo sometimes. I'm like, this is the number 1 guy. This is the Andrew Luck guy that's coming up, best prospect ever. I have not been that impressed this year because I thought this year was going to be like the jump for the young quarterback. But obviously, I'm still giving him one more chance. I'm giving him one more year of chance. That number 1 receiver is not Christian Kirk. He's a nice receiver. He's not the number 1 dude. I'm giving him an opportunity with Calvin Ridley next year. And he better show up next year or I'm going to be out on Trevor Lawrence being this franchise quarterback that's going to be a top 10 franchise guy for your team that's going to be consensus overall Pro Bowler type of dude. Because right now, I have not been impressed this year. Not even a little. Because his decision-making, missing throws, he's like a good athlete. He got all the stat, man. Like he's a big dude, strong arm.
Measurable,
he can run the football too. He's a big physical guy. With good coaching, not impressed this year. But I'm still gonna ride with him because I'm giving him. I'm telling you, I'm giving him that 1 year to get that wide receiver 1, and then I will judge after that. I will make a final decision after getting that wide receiver 1. Because I gotta say this again: Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, unleashed. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, unleashed. Tyreek Hill, unleashed. This is the most obvious trend in football ever. Get your boy a number 1 and see what happens.
Yeah.
So I will not make a decision. I will not overreact until that happens.
Okay. I don't know, man. I've been watching Trevor a lot because he's been on my bench all year, and I don't know. I mean, I think they're having a clear RB1 might help him a little bit. I mean, even against the Broncos, he did have that nice throw to Evan Ingram. I thought that was a beautiful throw for that touchdown. He may have missed a couple others, but man, you're picking it. I think Fields has just proven that he is kind of an up and coming version of what Jalen Hurts is to Philly. And I'm not saying we're going to be 8-0 next year through week 8. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's asking a lot.
But Hurts wasn't throwing the ball that much last year. And now, granted, you're right. He didn't have A.J. Brown at that point, right? I think that is kind of what Zoo's saying. But Fields is making those throws down the field. His guys, he just doesn't have the quality to catch the ball. And now, you add Claypool, who I think he might have had, 11 touchdowns that one season, 2020?
Yeah, rookie year. He got double-digit touchdowns.
And then,
very impressive.
the Steelers' wide receiver room got a little crowded. I think that, bit into maybe the chemistry, the changing quarterback. He had Trubisky there for a bit. God knows, Allen Robinson had to deal with that. So I don't know, man. I think I just like Fields' ability to affect the game even when defenses aren't allowing him to. And what I mean by that is they know the Bears can't throw the ball. They know they can run the ball, and this man still might rush for 1,000 yards with another 1,000-yard running back and a 600-yard running back they're the number one rushing team in the league, and Fields is the reason for that. So I think you just got a guy, if you're looking at this from a fantasy perspective, Fields is definitely the guy that you want because of that rushing attack. But you go over to Lawrence, man, he does have the intangibles and the ability to step up. It's just, can he do it? And, do they give him the weapons? So I'm going with Fields. He's my guy. I got to buy into him. But I do think Lawrence, and I agree with you on Zach Wilson as well, Zoo. I do think that he's going to continue to struggle. And Lawrence has the ability to, but he has to prove it right now. I think he needs to really have an uptick with this division potentially being open as well.
It's funny. If we maybe asked this last year, the answer probably would have been Mac Jones. Crazy what a year does.
That's so true. You're right.
It would have been Mac Jones. And I felt like maybe still at the third or fourth game mark, probably might have still been like, oh, I might go with Mac Jones. But then he's like, you see Zappy come in and do what he did, even though he had kind of that last game he had was pretty awful. Yeah. But I think Mac just kind of feels like a floor play. Like he almost feels like a placeholder for the next guy that you want. At first, I was when they first both came out, I kind of just thought to myself, Trevor's just going to be the guy who's going to be the number one pick. He's going to have his weapons. They're going to surround him with stuff, and he's just going to flourish because I just thought his talent. I mean, he was so good in college, and I mean, a lot of guys are good in college, but Trevor also had a lot of traits. Same thing that Fields has. It's just traits that translate to the NFL game of they have the physicality, they have the stature, they have the speed, power, whatever, to be this is the baseline of what you have to be to make it in the NFL. But one thing I would say about Trevor is he has, I feel like, even though Justin doesn't throw the ball as much, I feel like Trevor has a lot of why'd you do that? Type plays. And we all have those type of plays. I guess you could say we have young quarterbacks, but Trevor, I feel like some of his plays just he trusts his arm talent more than he should on certain things. I think he still kind of feels like perfect example of that was in the Denver game where they were on a 4-yard line, and if they did the back pylon view, I guess, or the back view where you could see it from the quarterback's angle, and it's why would you throw that in between two defenders? And that, I don't know if part of that is just his decision making of I just trust my arm too much. I just feel like I'm so talented that it's just going to end up working. But to Zoo's point, Christian Kirk is kind of proven that he's he would be better as a receiver too. Now you kind of want to give him the benefit of the doubt because of Calvin Ridley, but I would almost feel like he's had if you look at Jacksonville's other receivers, I feel like they're worlds better than Chicago's. Justin Fields, to me, I feel like has had no, outside of Darnell Mooney, he has no talent at receiver. None. It's a lot of retreads. People talk about N'Keal here. He's a retread. Velus Jones, what's the St. Brown guy? He's got a lot of guys. It's just
Cole
they
Kmet.
are receiver. Yeah, Cole Kmet. I mean,
Finally
he's a
scored.
it's funny. I was thinking about getting him off the freaking fantasy waiver wire, but I just don't want to take a chance on him. But it's it just feels like he doesn't have the dearth of talent. And I'm not saying Trevor's is extremely better, but it's just I don't know. I just feel like Justin has had less to work with. So it will be interesting to see if they both, like you said, one got Claypool, the other one's got Calvin coming in. I still feel like both teams need to go into the draft. And if there's a receiver to be taken in the first round, you should take it. Because to me, if you're talking about look at Jalen Hurts is the perfect example of that. Keep adding to the receiving core. Not only do they have AJ Brown, they got Devontae Smith, they got Quez Watkins, who I think is good. They got other guys behind him who, even if AJ Brown were to go out a series or go out a couple plays, there's guys that can come in to make plays. And I just feel like a receiver, you just got to have multiple guys. You can't just think, oh, I'm going to have one. You got to have the one guy that's going to be the number one option. I understand that, but you need to have the 2, 3, maybe even 4 guy as the way to improve your quarterback's play. So for me, I want to go with Fields because I also think Fields is a little bit more of a dynamic runner than Trevor. They're both athletic, but I feel like Fields, and I think the reason why I thought this is when they were playing, I think it was the Commanders on Monday night. He had that one run around the corner. He looked like a souped up tight end running around the corner. He's got some wheels and he's a big athlete. So, because he's bigger than Jalen Hurts. And I almost would say he might be faster than Hurts. He might be. He's got a little bit of giddy up. I think Hurts is a more physical runner, but I think he might have a little bit more giddy up than Hurts. So I think he's a little bit of a better athlete. And Justin, I just feel like has shown the ability to throw the ball. It's just they got to give him, I think, better options and trust what he's doing. It's also going to be contingent on the coaching staff as well. Because if we're picking coaching staffs, I might pick Jacksonville. But right now, I like Justin a little bit more because I feel like Trevor kind of is getting dangerously close to that. Oh, why are you making that? Like, why you keep doing that? Like, you got the talent to stop doing the dumb stuff. And Trevor does that more, and I just feel like it's because he trusts himself more because he feels like he's a better athlete. Because you got to think about Trevor too. Trevor's been like the number one athlete since 8th grade. Like he was the number one guy in all of high school. I think him and Justin were neck and neck, but everybody looked at Trevor more. And then when he got to college, he lost like 2 or 3 games, won a title as a freshman. So I think he has a whole lot more of, I'm going to figure this out. And in the NFL, you kind of got to, you can't, I mean, you can think that way, you can have that confidence, but sometimes that gets you in trouble because they're the athletes on the other side of the ball are just as good. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Man, I guess we're not going to give any love for Davis Mills, huh?
Oh, man.
In Houston. He's still the starter in Houston.
Hey, Brandon Cooks always gets me a little garbage time points to win the game, though, man. He always gets his 9. They only throw to him at the end when they're like, crap, we actually have to throw the ball now? All right. Brandon Cooks, here you go. And
I think of any other. Oh, you know a second-year guy? He hadn't even played yet, Trey Lance. Anybody want to take a chance on him? I mean, he's a wild card, I guess you would say, because he hadn't even played, but what, 2 games, 1 or 2 games?
So after that catastrophic injury, man, I'm out.
It's gonna be tough. Come back.
Yeah, I can't do that.
He's a tough one, but yeah, he would be a very interesting wild card with San Francisco with McCaffrey coming back. But yeah, like I said, today was I guess you say interesting trade deadline situation going on in the NFL. Now that the teams, I guess, have got their rosters intact, we're going to see who's going to make these playoff pushes. So you guys make sure you're locked in for that. Bullheaded_pod. We're putting up the same content on Instagram for football, basketball. World Series is going on right now. I haven't really posted about it because there's been so much stuff going on with football and basketball. Yep. So I probably will get around to that when we see who's going to be maybe in the game clinching series or whoever wins the World Series. We'll probably get some content on that. But make sure you follow that. Follow us on TikTok, bullheaded_864. Make sure you follow us on all the DSPs, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.